So are we ready to hit this? We just had a major power surge here.
Yeah, we're good to go.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to interview. I know people affectionately call you Dr. T, but let me introduce you to our team here. I'm with Dr. Alec Trivedi, and he is a media personality and expert in health and human behavior. For 25 years, he studied the brain and the development and the science behind success and fulfillment. He helps entrepreneurs to train their brains to cut through the BS. You guys know I like that. I like this. Get to the cause, cut to the chase, find the root cause, transform their money, their business, and their life. So he has shared the stage with legends in personal development like Brian Tracy, Bob Proctor, and Grant Cardone. He's the author of a book called Chasing Success, Lessons in Aligned Performance. And he's been featured on, among many things, CBS, NBC, Fox News, Global News, and many more. So some of his clients include FDIC, Mobiru International, Berkshire Hathaway, and professional athletes. What an honor to have you with us.
Well, thanks, Larry. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, what prompted this is I was privileged to have a little interview with you a few days ago, and we got into quite a conversation towards the end about thyroid things and different things, which we'll get into. But mostly we were talking about recruiting and retention and business building and some of the regular topics. But I loved what really fascinated me is you said something about how many people focus on recruiting and getting new people, new numbers. And yes, that's good. You want to learn all the basics. We have a good program on our team for that.
Sure.
But what would happen if you develop the people you already had? The ones you already have, the people falling through the cracks, because most people are afraid to what? They're afraid to share or say anything because of what? Fear of rejection. Like they get shut down one or two times, and what happens?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, right? And you're in the business that you're in, and you guys run a great business, and by no means am I trying to discredit that, but overarching in the industry, and people seem to focus on just getting new clients and getting new customers and getting new customers. And that model worked back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, because really at the end of the day, we didn't know more about the brain. We didn't know how to change that. We didn't know how to develop leaders like we do today, right? I like to say that if you keep doing the old pattern of things, you're going to keep getting the old pattern of results. Now, today we know a lot differently about the brain and how to rewire the brain and how to create new strategy and rewire the things that are holding you back in order to develop new leaders. I'll give you an example of this. I had a team I was working with, I don't know, I was just telling Laura about 3 years ago, and they kept on saying the new thing, the same thing. Is you got to recruit, you got to bring new people, got to bring new customers. I said, yeah, that's true. If you keep doing that, then you're going to keep struggling just getting new people. But the people in it, you're going to lose them as the leaky bucket, and they're just going to keep going out on the back end. Versus training, truly rewiring, not just training, rewiring the way that they think based on new science to rewire their traumas in order for them to actually become a leader and develop and grow. Then create a team and an organization where the team isn't focused on necessarily just recruiting, but it's on developing, growing, building, and creating new customers from the inside out versus an outside in philosophy. And most businesses and most organizations, at least in this part of the world, or in this part of the business structure, are looking at continuing to do an outside in philosophy. But you guys in doTERRA understand this. I'm a doctor. I'm a chiropractor by degree. So you guys and I speak the same language when we say the body heals from the inside out. And we function, and if the body is set in the right environment, the body has the ability to heal from the inside out. So we speak the same language. We think the same thoughts. We practice the same way, but we practice business very differently. And most people do. Most people look at if they have a business problem, they need to look outside of them to get the solution. But interestingly enough, when you look at it within your own philosophy, it's not about looking outside of you to get the solution to your business. It's about looking within you and within your own structure in order to empower you. Right? I like to say that there's a difference between motivation and inspiration. Right? Motivation comes from the outside. If Lori needs to get on a call to motivate you, to get you ramped up and amped up every single week or every 2 weeks or every 3 months, then that's motivation. That's an external, extrinsic value that needs to be done. And that means that you're not inspired by the business versus being inspired, knowing from within that you want to, love to, and are inspired to build this business and create an inspired place to grow and function from, rather than needing someone to motivate you. If someone needs to motivate you, you will eventually quit this business. That's just how it works, how psychology works. And people fight it all the time. I said, eventually they quit. But those who are inspired, those who work from within, those who understand that the success is going to come when you rewire yourself and work leadership from the inside out and the business from the inside out, you transform everything and everyone around you. And people want to do business with you versus have to do business with you. It's a completely different paradigm that people don't understand.
Yeah, so I listened in on an all-day webinar you had. It was on, I think it was called Inner Wealth.
That's right.
And the handouts were really great. I was able to listen all day, even though I'm at home full-time right now, taking care of my mother that had a horrific stroke. In fact, she has one of the worst cases that they've seen of not being able to speak. So it's interesting that we're having this topic, and I'm at home trying to help my mother regain her speech and so forth. So we're doing that with supplements and oils, and you can do it with emotional work and energy work. But you're talking about something that a lot of people don't know about. We hear about mindset, but I know people are already thinking, what's he talking about? Rewire the brain. So, how do people do that?
Well, how is a big question, but the reality is that what if I told you that the paradigms that you've been taught, let me just say it this way. I went on a quest to create a science and find the science of personal development because, like you, I read all the books. I read the Think and Grow Riches. And if Think and Grow Rich was the answer for everybody being rich, then everybody would be rich, right? I did all the videos. I did all the hype. I did all that stuff around it. And here's what I found. I found that most people didn't gain success from it. They gained motivation, but then they ended up in further depression with their life. They ended up more frustrated with themselves by painting these nightmare boards on these walls, looking at them, staring at them, thinking that their life was supposed to be different, but it doesn't. And what I found out and what I realized with this, and I don't know if this relates to you guys, if it does, please type in the chat box if this is making sense so I can get some feedback. But as people created more of a lopsided perception, a lopsided fantasy of their life, they ended up in further depression and chaos. And the problem with that is that it breaks down from the inside. And true success is a scientific process that we now understand. See, we built on a premise of positive thinking, but positive thinking only led to further depression. It's how we know this in psychology. It leads to further depression. An individual, when they rewire their brain, they're using the science, not just positive platitudes, not just affirmations, not just setting up fantasy goals for yourself to live a different life. This is about creating a strategy strategically from your brain and rewiring the traumas that are holding you back. One of them is going to be the fear of rejection in your business specifically. Another is going to be the fear of recruiting, right? And where does these fears come from? It all stems from one thing. It's the fear of speaking up about what you believe. It's the fear of not having your voice in business. It's the fear of not having your voice and not being heard with what you do. Because every one of you in doTERRA understands that you have a brilliant product that helps so many people. But so many people are afraid to talk about it because you go out into the marketplace and you tell someone that I do these essential oils and they give you this look and they give you this like, this hokey thing. They don't understand it. And so now you feel rejected because of that. You feel stuck inside of that. And now someone looks at you, insults you. You never want to go tell about it again. But you use the product and you love it, just like Tom is saying, right? Voodoo medicine. You use the product and get all the results. But you stop yourself on the crusade to help other people because you're afraid of what other people are going to think of you.
I see that all the time. Yeah, people are so excited and they get shot down a couple times and then that's it.
I bet. Statistically, they say for someone to stop in this business, it takes 3 rejections and then they stop doing it. But they'll take the product because the product is brilliant. And if the product is brilliant, then you've got to look at it and say, well, question becomes, do you want to build a business around it?
Yeah, and we have a great program. It's getting better and better all the time. We actually have very high retention on our team, and we have a lot of people engaged in training. But what I thought you said was so fascinating, like a lot of people on my team are really, really trained, but yet the people that I'm thinking about are the people that I know could be enrolling. They
Yeah.
have the potential, they are capable, but how do they get shot down so quickly? Because those are the people falling through the cracks, or the people who, then they turn into product users, and that helps your retention, but they're not builders, are they?
No, and the reality is that from a business perspective, they don't become builders. And what they do is they stay as product users, which is great. You love them for it. But it's not about you. Let me just, if I can be bold enough, Lori, to just kind of step outside the box. Do I have your permission to do that?
Absolutely.
If the product is so great and it's about you, then I'm going to make a statement that's going to hit you kind of across the head a little bit. Then you make the business about you. Then you're selfish in business. And I don't mean to be rude or derogatory when I make that statement, but when you have a product as powerful as doTERRA, that it can literally help and change the course of someone's life, then if you're stuck being afraid of rejection, it's because you're so far consumed in your own ego and your own psyche around that, that you don't want to tell other people about it. Because when you serve with an open heart, you're willing to tell people without the fear of rejection. But when the rejection kicks in, it's about you. When it's without the rejection, it's about them. When you rewire the brain
Yeah.
and take care of that rejection piece, then the business no longer becomes about you. It becomes about the people that you serve. That's how you grow. That's how you make money. That's how you create income and create a business and a legacy and a platform that's going to withstand the test of time.
Right. And it doesn't just happen to the beginners and the new people. Like at any rank or any level, when you're trying to do a breakthrough, you can get different fears, can't you? Different fears of rejection and different ways of not knowing how you fit in and what your voice is. And I loved on the program that I took with you, the Inner Wealth, I loved your handouts and different things, because I found out some surprising things about myself. Because in a lot of ways, I'm very fearless and my team knows it. But there are certain ways that I hold back in different things.
Sure.
And those are usually from traumatic things that happened in your life. And so we didn't have one-on-one time during that, but I wrote down some events that happened to me, like for I'll give you two, and we can, because other people have these.
Sure.
Sometimes you have a major success, you get ready to go on to the new success. So one for me was I qualified for the Junior Olympics, and then right before the Junior Olympics, I broke my ankle. Another times I qualified for the national finals rodeo with my horse. Right before the rodeo, my horse got sick. So what kind of emotional traumas might I bring from that to business and to making it to some new level?
Well, think about it, right?
That's one I can think of for me, but
Yeah.
these are the things that you deal with and help people with, isn't it?
It absolutely is, right? You got to find the blockages, and I like to say that everyone's talked about their why. You've all heard what's your why, why is big enough, the how takes care of itself. And I'm going to tell you right now, straight up, I'm a direct shooter, that's complete bullshit. Because you all know your whys. If I sat there and interviewed all of you, you all know your whys, and you know what it is. You know what the why is. But the real answer to this, the real problem is not the why, it's the why not. Why aren't you moving forward? Why are you not getting through? Why aren't you getting to the things that you want? Because realistically, if I said to you on the other side of this, you have $1 million sitting there, all of you would say, do you want $1 million? Yes, you would say yes. The desire is there. Then the question becomes, what's preventing you from actually getting there? And that's the why not. Once you decipher the why not, the trauma that's holding you back, you open that floodgate up, and now you move towards the why. I'll give you an example. I had a leader in another network marketing organization, and he was stuck. He was making about $200,000 a year, relatively good business, making a lot of money, so in it. But he wanted to take it to the next level. So I had a conversation with him. I was working with him. And Lori, we worked through some things, and he had a trauma with his kid back 20 years ago because he had some conflicts with his wife at the time and the child at that point in time. So but he was holding on to guilt inside of his life, and that guilt was holding him back. We went in, unlocked the guilt inside of him, and over the course of the next 11 months, he made $750,000 additional and became $1 million earner in his company. Unlocking that one trauma opened up the floodgates for you to be able to create new things. So I say that to you because every one of us has traumas that we're holding on to that are preventing us from living what it is we say that we want. And maybe it's money for you, maybe it's not, maybe it's family. You don't know necessarily where it lies, but when you unlock it, you open up yourself to new opportunities.
Yeah, and I loved how you talked to some of the people in the class that like volunteered without giving away too many details. A person was telling you their story and you listened and you were very patient and you were like, And then you said, well, here's what I think's going on. And you said something different and the lady goes, you're right. So we need to rewrite stories we tell ourselves, don't we?
It is. The stories are the BS you tell yourself, and the stories is what stops you from actually living what it is you say that you want. Maybe you're looking at this call and you're saying, I don't want to be $1 million earner. Great. That you don't have to be. But maybe you want to build a business and make $10,000 a month. Great. Can you do that? Yes. But if you're not, whatever you say you want to do and you're not doing, the bigger important fact to me is you're creating guilt and shame and resentment towards yourself. And whatever you have resentment towards, you resist. So if you have resentment towards money, you resist money coming in your life. And if you have guilt towards money or an association towards that, you're going to give your money away to that. So the bigger thing for me is not so much if you want to make $1 million a year or you want to make $50,000 a year. The bigger thing is that you free yourself from the emotions that are holding you back and free yourself and get your life back and reclaim your life so that you can do what it is you say that you want to be authentic with it. That's the biggest thing to me.
Yeah, and I really love what you said too. Like, I hope people will take the whole class because we really can't cover that. But you said some fascinating things about that really hit me hard and helped me. And they helped me shift instantly. And it was how a lot of our pain comes from our expectations.
Yes. All pain comes from expectations. All pain is built on the expectations, the psychological expectations you create. And your expectations.
Yeah, and we do that to other people, right?
I'm sorry?
We do that to other people. We expect them to perform, or we expect them to listen to us or follow this program or do this or that or keep their word to us. Like, we need to know how to manage disappointments. We know that as leaders and as people, but that whole key of seeing if you can track down what that expectation is, because you can let that go away right away when you are aware of it, correct?
When you become aware of it. But here's the interesting thing. The bigger expectation is the ones that you set on yourself.
I would agree with that.
Those are even bigger than the ones that you're actually going through and placing with everyone else. The expectations you place on yourself cause you more suffering than anything else. Expectations and suffering go hand in hand. So the more you expect things, the more you're going to end up suffering. And logically, what that's doing, it's building a emotional chaos inside of your amygdala, which is breaking you down and preventing you from actually moving towards where it is you say that you want to get to.
That's where we get into the fight or flight, the freeze, the safety issues, living in survival. Do you want to talk a little bit about living in the survival mode?
Yeah, most people live in survival, right? This is the thing, is that most people are living in survival in their life and they don't even know it. They don't even know it. If you're not living a life that you love to live, sounds really crazy, but if you have to sit and say that you spend your life doing things that you have to, you need to, you should, you're living in a survival state. Versus living in a state that you want to, choose to, and love to, then you're in an inspired state, right? It's 9:30 p.m. I love to do this. I just did a seminar, a 9-hour seminar that I just finished, came home, had dinner, and I'm doing another seminar now because I love to do this. And because I love to do it, my energy and enthusiasm skyrocket. When each individual functions in the state of their priorities and their values and their true neurologic values, they have energy, enthusiasm to be able to do more in their life. And there's a place in the brain that finds this, right? So when you live there, you remove yourself from living in stress and the sympathetic state, the survival state. You move yourself towards more of what's more along the path of an abundant state. But if you're holding on to traumas back here, you don't move yourself into the abundant state. You try, you think about it, but it continues to be an invisible glass ceiling you keep running your head against. And the problem with that is that you say you want to get to the next level, and you do, and I believe it, but there's a subconscious or what I call a latent awareness that's preventing you from actually getting there. And you work hard and you tell Lori and your team leaders, I work hard. I want to get to the next place. I want to get to the next level. But there's something that's stopping you, right? Like Lori just mentioned a little while ago, she had these 2 great episodes when she's getting to the platform to play at the highest level. She had 2 major traumas that are holding her back. I can already tell you based on our brief conversation, I know exactly what I need to work on with Lori so I can help her clear that so that she can get to the next level. And so the same thing works for all of us, is that if we don't clear that trauma, then we stop ourselves. We keep running against a brick wall and not getting where we want to go.
Yeah, so this is what leads people to keep recreating the same case scenario, is because of the way they're thinking.
Absolutely. They'll keep doing the same thing over and over and over. And they continue to get motivated to go back into more pain. Stop.
And I really like what,
get inspired.
I like what you said about everybody works on like The Secret and the attracting and abundance, and that's all good and that feels good. And it's good to elevate your mood and elevate your frequency and your vibrancy so you're attracting differently. But those emotional traumas and those mindset things and those things that hold you back, they still got to be dealt with, don't they?
Absolutely. Everybody's going to try and tell you to look at your future. I'm one of the few people on the planet that's going to say, let's look at your past so that you can clear your future. Because all that stuff feels good, and people think that abundance is feeling good. Abundance is not feeling good. That's a wonderful thing that people want to sell you. It's a wonderful thing that people want to make you feel better and create a fantasy of your life. That's not what I do. I'm very real and authentic. And when I say this, that creates more fantasy. I would rather tell you the truth and work with less people than tell you the truth, that those that heal it, clear it, then they move forward much faster and quicker. Like Jan and Tom, for example. They clear their traumas and they're having great months. They're having great business. Their business is exploding. It's not about that they didn't know of fantasy. They don't know. It's not that they didn't know about vision boards. It's not that they know about this stuff. What's stopping it is the trauma that's holding them back. That's the most important thing to clear before you go and try and create something.
And it just doesn't clear it in business. It clears it all over in your whole life, doesn't it?
Well, I'll tell you a crazy story. And it's almost some of these things I see, honestly, are so unbelievable. I had a lady 2 weeks ago in a program that I do called Cut the BS. 22 years old, Lori, and her left ascending artery has a blockage of 80%. 22 years old, 80% blockage. April 22 years old. And April 27th, excuse me, she had a heart attack. She had a lump on her breast before she did the seminar. She had 2 nodules on her thyroid. And she was dealing with, for years, she had been dealing with resentment towards her mother. And resentment creates sclerosis of the arteries, right? So it creates sclerosing in the arteries. And many of you know that and understand that. So I'm not preaching to the choir here. But she was living with this. And so she would pass out, Lori, I'm not kidding, 25 to 30 times a day. Like just literally just wouldn't even know because the blood wasn't getting there. Passing out every single day. Her roommate literally didn't know if she's going to walk home to a dead young lady or not. She had no idea. Every single day this is going on. So she gets on the program with me and starts working with me. And in a matter, I worked with her in 26 minutes. I cleared her trauma. And I swear, I can't even make this up. It's now approaching 3 weeks. Since that moment, she has not passed out once. The doctors can't figure it out. The lump on her breast that was there is gone. Magically disappeared. No, because when you heal the traumas, you don't need to create more traumas. They thought she was on the path to death. And literally, that's completely rewired and gone. Her body's now functioning. She's working with her mother, and she doesn't faint.
Well, what you do works so beautiful with our essential oils, because even just diffusing them and smelling them, we're getting that change with the brain and the olfactory system. And I don't know if you know about this book or not, Dr. T. It's called Essential Emotions.
I don't know.
Most of our team loves this book. So for instance, let me look on here. Boundaries, codependency, boundaries, letting go of victim mentalities, dominated, fear of rejection, intimidated, controlled. Sometimes we feel that way with someone in our own group. And again, those are some of the traumas we're talking about. Those are some of the things that would hold us back. We give our power to someone else. So we want to be protected, courageous, have clear boundaries. This is where the oils come in, the affirmations, I am safe now, different things. But you're talking about a little different level on removing those traumas, aren't you?
Yeah, so here's what happens. Um, is that those are valuable things to deal with the circumstance there. But you get triggered with that emotion because of a trauma that happened early on in your childhood or at some point in your life. The only reason the trigger shows up is for you to learn to love the trigger. So the only reason you feel controlled and bound and have boundary issues is because you had boundary issues in the past that are now being brought up again in your life that you need to learn to heal way back in the past. And if you don't heal that in the past, then it keeps coming up as a trigger in order for you to learn to love it in your life so that you no longer have it running your life and you can transcend that. And as you transcend it, then you create new opportunities and new quantums, for lack of better words here, new quantums of healing within your psychology and your physiology that you can now then grow your business, your life, and you heal from everything that's holding you back inside of that. But the traumas is what created it in the first place.
So I love I love the whole webinar you did, because like, for instance, we know that even Ginger is about empowerment, holds no reservations, again, victim mentality, defeated, not present. We want to move towards capable, purposeful, accountable. I heard you talking about those things on the day I was on that program. I was so impressed with that. We have to take personal responsibility, don't we?
It is, right? And I like to say that there's no one coming in shining armor and a white horse to come save you. If you don't take responsibility of your life and your emotions and who you are and what you do, like, no one's going to be there, right? And I say that, it sounds a little harsh, but I'm an intense guy and that's who I am. And I love that about me. And I hate that about me. It's both. It's a beautiful thing. It's my gift and my curse at the same time. But no one's coming at 70 years old to sit there and say, hey, look, this is what you've got to do with your life to make more money. You coulda, you shoulda, you woulda. That you can't live on that. You've got to take charge of yourself today and today onward without the guilt and remorse of the past to sit and say that's held you back. It's served you when it did, but now it's time to look in the future and sit and say, I've got to now take responsibility of my thoughts, my actions, and behaviors, because you can only control your perceptions, decisions, and actions. So if you can control your thoughts, behaviors, and actions, and then you can, or behaviors and actions, correct, and you control of your perceptions, your actions, and your decisions, then you start to create a mastery of your life and take responsibility for it. And then your thinking becomes something that you do cognitively, and feeling is something that you do emotionally, and the mind and the body begin to connect and allows you to actually function and live a life that's more inspired. And because of that, you'll end up doing more in your business, recruit, and hold on to greater retention and tell more people about the amazing products and services you guys have.
And then what you're talking about, again, works with everything we're already doing. So for instance, I teach some workshops about your adrenals, and your adrenals can be the main cause of like your thyroid actually going down at some point. So we need supplements, we need nutrition, we need rest. There's so many things that we need. But there are doctors like yourself, like Dr. Bob Marshall, who passed away a couple years ago, is one. My great mentor, Dr. Versendahl, quite a few different doctors. They really didn't want to do a lot of doctoring on you until you address the emotional piece, the trauma piece. They found that when you address that, you might not need all of these other things. Yes, use them while you're healing, use them as support, but how many people are walking around unaware of this piece that we're talking about, Dr. T?
Everybody, every single person. And you know what happens is this, Lori, is that they have this, they don't realize it. And most of it comes because they don't have a voice, right? And we know this, and they have most women between the ages of 25 and 55 have hypothyroidism. Something like almost 90% of women do. And it's because they don't have a voice in their business, or excuse me, a voice in their life. And they feel like their voice is suppressed and they don't actually speak from it. And so they create hypothyroidism as a compensation to it. And they don't still ever gain their voice because they never empower their life. They become submissive and subordinated to everyone and everything around them versus empowering themselves. I love this organization because it has the ability to give people the ability and power to empower their life. And when you empower your life, you get a voice. And that voice that you get gets clarity and removes all the healing on the inside. But an individual who doesn't understand that, who doesn't speak it, and doesn't understand the traumas that are holding them back, will spend their life thinking that they have an issue with their thyroid and think that you have a lack of synthroid in your body. And that's not the issue. It's not the issue. But if you heal the trauma, and I've done this, I don't know, hundreds of times now, heal the trauma that's held you back with your thyroid, that thyroid starts begin working. The thyroxine starts kicking in. Now you have a voice. And when you get that voice back, I promise you, the first thing you'll talk about is the business and helping grow in the business and serving more people. That's the place where rejection lies for most people. They don't even realize it.
Right. And people can think they've dealt with stuff. I've been to a counselor. I've read this book. I've had all this training. Yeah, I dealt with that. And so you did maybe in, what would we call that? Like an analytical way? That is different from a shift where you let go of it, isn't it?
Yeah. So if I can share a story, I was on a flight back from Hawaii, and there was a lady on the flight. And I don't know about you, Lori, but it was a red-eye flight, and I was kind of like incognito. I didn't want to be recognized. I didn't want any of that. I just kind of wanted to rest and kind of take a nap, and I was tired. I did a program. I came back. But there's a lady next to me that I knew that I was going to meet, and it's one of those people that you have a conversation with. You know you're going to end up having a conversation with them. So about 3 a.m, we end up in a conversation. She's like, "Why do I know you? Why do I know you? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea." And I went to the bathroom, and she came back and she goes, "I know where I know you from." She goes, "You're the Cut the BS guy." And I said, "I am the Cut the BS guy." She goes, "You help people with their trauma. You're like the anti-therapist guy." And I said, "I am that guy. That's right." She goes, "I've seen some of your webinars and that." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. That's great." And so conversation goes on, and she's like, "I live outside of Nevada," and she travels a lot for work. And I said, "Oh, okay, great. Why do you travel a lot for work?" And she says to me, she goes, I work with women, and pardon me if I go too far here, but she works with women who've been sex trafficked, right? And that's what she does. She helps. She's a counselor to this. And I said, "That's interesting." And I know better, but I said, "How did you get into that world?" And I know very well she's got a trauma around this, right? And so, long story short, I just said, "Okay, great." And she's looking at me, and she's like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "No, great." She's like, "But I've worked on it. I've gone to therapy. I've done cognitive therapy, and I'm good." And she's doing this, and I'm good. But I've gotten over it. I'm grateful for it. And she got this tick that's happening inside of her. And I said, "Really?" I said, "So you're done with it?" She's like, "Yep, I'm done with it." And I said, "What about that tick that keeps happening inside of your shoulder every time you talk about it?" She's like, "Oh no, that's just happened for years. It's just the way my shoulder does things." Interesting. And I said, "Okay." And she's like, "Why? What do you think?" I'm like, "Do you want me to fix it?" And she said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "But I've done everything. I'm good." I'm like, I don't need him. I forgive him. I said, "As long as you need to forgive him, you don't have gratitude." And she said, "Okay." So on the plane, 3 a.m., by this point, it's 3:30 a.m., I spend 20 minutes, and I heal the trauma that happened. And literally, she has a tear of gratitude. She's like, "Oh my God, that's completely different." And then she takes my number down. 2, 3 days later, she texts me, and she said, "You're completely right. Before, I was intellectualizing. I was cognitively. I was still angry, but I was just saying it's okay. Today, I'm grateful for it. Because if there's anything that's in your life that's not getting you on the way, and you see it on the way and it's in the way, it's stopping you. If it's not on the way and it's in the way, it's preventing you from living a life of a mission and preventing your voice from speaking up." So I said this to her. It's like, "This is completely unique." It's like, "I didn't realize this." And so now I work with sex trafficked women and help them through their traumas and all that stuff as well because of her and her connection. But what I'm saying to you guys is this, is that there's a vast difference between theorizing cognitive therapy and saying that I've done with it, I've dealt with it, versus being in gratitude for it. There's a vast, vast difference. It's the earth and the moon separate. Most people don't realize that exists.
Yeah. Well, I think there's, tell me if I'm pronouncing this properly, it's dysphonia, where people totally lose their voice. They don't know why. And their voice will tremor and do this and whatever. And my mentor, Dr. Versatile, helped many, many people get over that. He found it was related to the heart, thyroid, and adrenal, not feeling loved in return, abandoned, deserted, rejected, like all these things that you're talking about. So there's
Correct.
several ways to do it, but you actually have a system that was very easy to listen to you and to come with some awareness and to clear something from some things I was listening to. And it made me very excited for my team. And it made me very excited to move forward with whatever's going on with my thyroid. Because imagine me, I have a PhD in clinical nutrition. I have had patients from all 50 states and 7 foreign countries. What do you think it feels like when you can't even help yourself when you get stuck at these different levels? So that's what I wanted to bring out with you is you can have it at any level. You can have it at any time. You can have it even when you've had a lot of healing. There's still more to do, isn't there?
You know, there is. We always there's the next level, the next layer, and for most people that they hide behind the first layer that they're never even open to it. But yes, there absolutely is more layers to work on. And any person at any point in time has new levels of trauma that they must integrate in order for them to truly heal their lives and grow beyond it.
So one thing I've done in my doTERRA business has been wonderful and great, but like you said, sometimes it can hurt you too. I'm a great promoter of other people, and I love acknowledging my team and edifying them and bringing leaders in and having them teach. And developer is real high in my strengths finders. But what I've kind of done is because I didn't want to make it about me, I almost went too far. Does that make sense to you?
Sure.
So that's still a way of losing your voice, isn't it?
It is when you don't want to speak up and you want to lose control, and in essence, that can be a place of it as well. And a lot of times, people will be submissive and put themselves in the background because they're afraid of confronting authority. And if there's an authority figure, you'll play small to them and subordinate yourself to that person versus actually truly seeing that you're at the same level. You just whatever you see in others lives within yourself, both positive and negative. It lives within yourself, and when you're too proud to see that you have it, you get a lot of shame within yourself. And when you're too humble to see it and you're too shameful to see it, you create pride and resentment towards them in the long run.
Yeah, because we get some really weird teachings about what it is to be humble, don't we?
It's completely backwards.
Oh my heavens, it's really something. So I want to getting close to the end here because I want you to talk about how we can help more people. That's why I had you come on here. I felt so strongly after listening to you. I felt more people needed to hear from you. And don't get me wrong, we have unbelievable, and it's getting better all the time, training in doTERRA.
Sure.
We're not trying to necessarily sell another program. What I want people to hear is, why do we need coaches and mentors? I mean, every major advancement I've ever had with horses or my career or anything, I had some great mentor that I met or I sought after. And so I'm seeing with you some tools and some things that you had to say that can help my team, because mentoring, you're really helping somebody manage like their growth and their education, correct? So
Yeah.
talk to why people need coaches and mentors.
You know, it's interesting. I get this question often. As of yesterday, have spent $1.25 million, excuse me, $1.125 million in my brain in mentorship. I spent over $1.1 million in my brain to learn from mentors. One of my mentors is a guy named Jay Abraham. Some of you may know the name. So he's the one who built Dave Asprey. He's the one who built Tony Robbins from a business marketing standpoint. He built Ramit Sethi. He built Damon John. Like this is one of my mentors that I've hired in my life because I wanted the best. I wanted someone who knew the best. So I've worked with mentors my entire life because they cut the learning curve down. You can try and do something and let the hard work of life try and show you, or you can learn and leverage from the hard work of others and learn what they did and just do it 10 times faster. I'm interested in speed and efficiency. So I spend a lot of money to learn, to gather information, to assimilate that information and see how it applies to my business and life. So I do that on a consistent basis is what I'm trying to say. And most people are afraid of mentors because they think they're going to have to change. And the truth is you probably will. In order for you to grow, you probably will have to change. but not change in a negative way. Change to the degree that you learn to love and appreciate what's around you. Not to become somebody different, it's to become more of yourself. And
Right.
become more of yourself, you automatically grow.
Yeah,
That's
and
the,
you talked about that. Finding your voice is, most people don't even really know what it is they want. They're
correct.
doing something for someone else, or they're doing something like, you're not about, oh, I need a new house, oh, I need a new car. You're not about that. You're about, how many people can I serve? How
Mhm.
can I become the best version of me? You know, how can my gifts really truly be heard in this world? And I think we need more people like you. I appreciate you coming on here this evening. And I know you have something coming up again. I think it's the inner wealth. Do you still have room in that for people that, I listened all day? Tom and Jan told me about it, and that's why we're talking here today. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Inner Wealth is a program that I designed. It's an online program that is, it's an all-day workshop. It is a real workshop. It's not just a webinar where you jump in. Like, you want to be there the whole day, because I'm going to take you. It's a process that I take you through to understand where your inner wealth lies, to understand the difference between your why and why nots, to understand what your energy looks like, what real wealth is for you, not everybody else, for you, understanding your expectations and what emotional home you live at, to understand what wealth really means, how you create money and income into your life. All these different things that are set inside of it. So that's coming up on July 11th. And the program is nothing short, nothing, in my opinion, at least my humble opinion, it's nothing less than life changing for a lot of people.
Well,
And
just a couple things I got out of that. It actually caused my significant other that I've been with for 10 years, Dan. He's kind of guy who just lets a lot roll off of his back. He talks about this proverbial raincoat. And we had this great thing that you'll love, Dr. T, in our relationship. If we start arguing in the car, we go somewhere, we'll say, hey, you know what? I think we need to eat. And I'm not talking about comfort eating, but we have low blood sugar issues.
okay,
So you know how many hundreds of arguments we have totally stopped by, hey, let's go eat first.
sure.
You're also kind of shifting the energy a little bit and stuff, and you're kind of cooling off and waiting. But you triggered some things into me that caused kind of an argument almost all day long
Mm-hmm.
with us. And guess what? We had a major breakthrough. We stayed at it. It's okay to argue once in a while, isn't it? You're having a heated discussion. You're trying to work through things. And it was him finally acknowledging, gosh, maybe I don't have to have this proverbial raincoat all the time. So
Yeah.
we're really looking forward to learning some more from you, as myself individually and Dan as he comes along. Because a lot of women do this, and then the men, how do the men get in on this, right? We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, it is. It's the women that kind of lead this force, it seems to be, at least around with me. I think that the, female entrepreneurs are the wave of the future. There's no question about it. We know this, that the female entrepreneurs are the wave of the future. And in my world, I seem to attract a lot of the emotionally, the emotionally intelligent women who want to build a business typically come around me. And I also find that men who are emotionally aware come around me. But if those people who are like, let's go grind it out, success is everything, and the money, the cars, the yachts, the popping bottles lifestyle, that's not my world. I don't teach
Nope.
that. I don't hold on to that. I but that's so falsified that it's so far from my reality.
Yeah, we're
Uh,
about quality relationships, more time with your children. Today, I told you that we live in a dream place.
mhm.
We live in a place that people would just love to live where we did. But we created that over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And we're still creating and adding to that vision and that dream. And luckily for us, and thankfully, and yes, I worked for it, but there's been a lot of divine intervention as well. Diamond and Blue Diamond income and that residual income is not only allowing us to reach our dreams, but it is allowing us to impact people's lives like we've never dreamed before,
Yeah.
including introducing you and what you could bring to, even if it's a handful of people that want to know more about this. So we're going to be closing. Just tell us a little bit more. How can people um, figure out how to get in on this thing that I'm going to take it again, that inner wealth thing? I'm going to take some more stuff with you. And again, we're not trying to necessarily sell a program. This is about who needs a mentor, who's stuck, who wants to find their voice, who is this making sense to, am I right?
Absolutely. It's not about selling anything. And let me also say this. It's not about selling, it's about enrolling you in your life. That's really what the game is for me. I don't want to sell a product. I want to enroll you in your own life. And
Enroll you in your own life.
that's it. Like that's the whole thing. So July 11th, the Inner Wealth Workshop, it's a great introductory place to start with me. Look, I'm going to be intense. I'm going to be strong, but you spend that day with me and hang in there, and your world will look different. You'll see the world from a different space, and you look at yourself from a different space. And it's a whopping $97, and you get to bring 3 guests along with you. That's the amazing thing with this. So you can split the tickets up with $25 a head. Come to the program, spend the day with me, do it from the comforts of your own home, and walk away. And I promise you nothing less than a transformational day in your life.
Yeah, and you have a break to go get lunch. You have a break to go
that's it.
get a drink, and you have a break to do your writing. It was extremely well run. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And right now, with all this craziness with the pandemic and everything, I was home all day watching over my mom that had a catastrophic stroke in January. So I had my son help me with her a little bit. And I was so happy from my own home to be able to sit through that all day.
Oh, that's good. I'm so happy that you were there. Yeah, you can register. You can just go to innerwealthworkshop.com. It's innerwealthworkshop.com. And yeah, you can go there. I think someone will post it, the link down there if you guys are interested in being a part of it. I'd love to have you guys be there. I promise you nothing less if you're open to it. Look, I'll tell you this, is that I'm not for everybody. And I'm nor am I trying to be there for everybody. I'm direct, honest, straight, and I'm not worried about your opinion of me. I'm more worried about your transformation of your own life. That's what I care more about.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
people hate me. I'm used to people hating me, and I'm not addicted to people loving me. I'm more addicted to loving yourself.
So you know which oil tests the highest for need for approval, self-judgment, insecure, and unloved? It's an essential oil called bergamot or bergamot. So what you're doing is going to work beautiful with everything that we're already training on and teaching and the product education.
All of that.
And is that all you want to talk about tonight? Because I know you have some other things coming up too, but for now, that's the most important thing is on July 11th.
Let's talk. July 11th is where it's a perfect place for people to be a part of it. Come join us there, and I think you'll walk away with a great amount of value, a great introspection of your life.
And is there anything you wanted to say before we get off of here? I think how we're doing. Hey, we've been on here almost an hour.
Yeah, it goes fast. It goes fast. I just want to say thank you, and I really appreciate your candor. To be very honest with you, I appreciate your candor, and just saying, even as a doctor, as a nutritionist, because a lot of people would be so stuck in their ego to sit and say, "Hey, look, I know it all." And even as a doctor coming in and saying, "Look, I know what I know, but there's something that this guy knows that's completely unique and different."
Right.
That can be.
And you helped me. Why wouldn't I share? Why wouldn't I be excited and want to tell somebody? I just listened for one day and had some breakthroughs, and I'm so thankful. Because I could tell somebody my story, and boy, it'd be a pitiful story, all the stuff I've been through just these last few months. But that doesn't help me at all, does it?
It actually makes it worse. It remyelinates the brain. So yeah, no, I just want to say thank you for being you, and I thank you for everyone for being here and being a part of this tonight. I appreciate everyone being here, and I hope you got some tremendous value, because I know I definitely did.
All right, thank you for your time, and I know you're in control of ending this and everything, right? So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful evening.
All right.